Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me, no.
We believe you're out there, hungry for stories for shared experience. We can't see you, can't hear you, yet we will play for you. This night's offering is For the Queen. To learn how we generate stories playing For the Queen, go check out our For the Queen rules primer. Our humble players, myself, John Holt, with me.
I'm Allison Wilgus. I make comic books.
I'm Carrie Peach. I also make comic books.
I'm Christina Dakinay, and I mostly play games.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. This is a fantastic. I'm glad you guys get to play this game. This will be the third or fourth time for myself, but every time is a joy because it's more about the players when you're playing this game and what they bring to it. So yeah, we'll go right into the instruction phase, and we just kind of take turns taking one card at a time and reading the instructions. So I'll start with this one. Go around the table clockwise, taking turns reading these cards out loud.
The land you live in has been at war for as long as any of you have been alive.
The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power.
The Queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue and accompany her on this journey.
She chose you because she knows that you love her.
You are welcome to look through the Queen cards for inspiration. If there is one that seems right for the group, place it on the table to inspire your story.
Okay, so we'll pause there, and there's a big stack of tarot-sized Queen cards, and I think the best thing to do is take out two that aren't calling to you. And then we're basically going to pare it down till we get down to this is it, where these are the queens that we aren't feeling right
So it's like
now.
your personal veto of
This is the
not
same
today.
way that I make a group pick a restaurant for
That's
dinner.
exactly true.
So we're down to two queens here. So I could just randomly pick, and we can have the other one as our second queen if we play a second game. Is that a way to go?
That
That's
sounds
good.
good.
Cool.
Yeah, they're both good.
All right. Let's
This
see.
is the menacing void queen.
That was Carrie now.
Set the card that reads, "The Queen is under attack. Do you defend her?" aside.
Shuffle the red prompt cards and place them face down in the center of the table.
Put the Queen is under attack card in the middle of the deck for a game that takes approximately 30 minutes, or shuffle it into the bottom third of deck to play for an hour or more.
When you have read the instruction cards, continue clockwise with the red prompt cards. Take turns reading the questions out loud, interpret these questions, and answer them however you wish.
Other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you.
Place the X card somewhere everyone can easily reach it.
If you encounter a card or an answer that you don't want to be included in the game, tap the X card. That content is removed from the game.
It's so nice that that's part of the instructions by default and not in a separate box that you have to read somewhere.
If you draw a card that is removed this way, simply draw another card. You can X a card that you drew yourself.
You can also pass on your turn. To do so, give the prompt card you drew to the next player and say, "I'd like to hear your answer to this question."
A prompt card can be passed around the table until someone applies the X card to it.
Continue answering, passing, and Xing questions until the Queen is under attack card is drawn.
Each player should answer that question in turn. Then the game is over.
Whoever wants to can draw the first prompt card.
Is anyone inspired to draw the first prompt card?
I kind of want to make you do it since you're the only one who's played this game before.
Okay, I will draw the first prompt card. You arranged for the Queen to be ambushed on this journey. What did they offer you? The Queen casts her eyes on her subjects, but I stand in the shadows behind her. As her brother, I don't get the attention of the Queen or the kingdom. So when they approached me at the beginning of this journey with a chance at maybe getting the attention for myself, I helped them with their ambush.
Man, right out the gate. Also, what's the table talk policy for this? Are we supposed to mostly be kind of just responding to the
if
cards?
people want to throw stuff in there, totally fine. And
I'm
you just if you're the active player, you have say, you have the final say. But other people, you can also say, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? And
I'm mostly
it's all
just wondering
fair.
if we are all going to be allies with each other or not. But I guess we're going to figure that out over the course of doing this. The Queen sometimes shows interest in your personal life. How do you respond to that, and why? The Queen seems to ask me an awful lot of very leading questions about the romantic aspects of my personal life, and I really want to know where exactly she's going with that, because I think I have a feeling about where she's going with that, and I don't know if, given my job of being in her retinue, that's a super great idea. So that's something I spend a lot of time avoiding. I try not to be alone with her anymore.
What is something you do for the royal family that has prepared you well for this journey? Great question. I don't know that I am especially prepared for this journey. I have been a falconer in service to the castle in general, but my duties have not brought me into direct contact with the royal family itself. It is usually wealthier nobles who are out for like an afternoon of pleasure. I was brought along to help with hunting and provisions, but I feel underprepared for that role.
What do you usually do for the royal family? Why does that make you an unlikely choice for this journey? I have been the spy master for the royal family, and it's very strange that the Queen has asked me to be part of her retinue because I've never appeared in public next to her. And despite all of my access to information, it's still a mystery as to why she invited me.
What promise did the Queen make to you before this journey? Do you think she'll keep it? The crown was something I don't want. It's the acclaim, it's the attention. And at least being an ambassador for the city, for our kingdom would give me that. So going on this journey with her to potentially become an ambassador for the kingdom we go to, that was prize enough for me. But I'm hedging my bets.
What do you do for the Queen that anyone else can do, and why does she make you do it? Oh, man.
That's a horny question.
That's really horny. I'm trying to think. So the thing is, I'm just like a soldier, and I'm a really good soldier, and I'm in charge of her guards, so it makes sense that she wants me to be on hand all the time, and I understand that. I understand that we're on the road, and so clearly she would like to have me really on hand because we're in the woods, we're camping, we don't always have like the security of like an inn or something around us. I get that. But I don't really understand. I mean, she has a valet. She literally has somebody whose job it is to help her get dressed. So I don't understand why I have to be on hand to help her get in and out of these ridiculous gowns every day. I mean, I think I do know why she wants me to do that. But how she justifies it to anybody else is a mystery to me, because I should be outside of her room looking out for people who want to murder her, not standing directly next to her zipping up the back of her dress.
Can we ask follow-up questions?
Sure, yeah.
Are you the only foot soldier on this journey, or are you among friends?
I'm the only foot soldier of note on this journey. I have 5 of my top soldiers from our team at the castle who are with me and who are helping me take care of our queen. You know, I'm in charge of these people, but she seems to mostly only want to deal with me directly.
So you're not just a soldier, you're in charge of a troop.
It's true. I mean, I've been moved up to soldier management,
Bless
but I
you.
still think of myself.
I'm in soldier administration.
I'm a mid-level soldier.
I mean, I might be the boss now, but I'm still at the end of the day just a person with a sword.
What do you do for the Queen that no one else can do? I think she is using my services as an excuse for solitude, taking time to go out and help with the hunting party, in which case there are probably a couple of guards, maybe led by you, posted around the edges of whatever field we're working in, but it is mostly a chance where no one can make other demands on her time. So I am not really a part of that. We don't speak much, but I'm able to give her that gift.
You sometimes think you might be the Queen's favorite. Why? And why does this worry you? I think I'm her favorite for various reasons, one of which is that we grew up together and we've had a long-standing friendship and have always been able to communicate with one another non-verbally. But I also think that she enjoys my insight into people and is, frankly, I feel like she's the only person, or I'm the only person who she can gossip with, which I do. It worries me because I think that if I were a different person, And if I had different motivations, I could very easily twist her into whatever direction I wanted. And I hope I am the only person that she holds in that esteem.
The queen thinks more highly of you than you do of yourself. How do you know this? So there have been moments where decisions come upon us, and the family up until this point has always, there's a reason it's the Red Throne, right? You live up to the auspice of the Red Throne, and my sister thinks we're elevating above that, and she thinks that I'm with her on this journey of some sort of cleansing of the kingdom, but sometimes the red way is the best way.
There is a part of you that does not want peace in this land. Why are you attached to the war? I mean, to be honest, I don't want to be out of a job. The reason I'm kept around is because I'm very good at keeping people from murdering the queen. I'm very good at also at murdering other people. That's sort of incidental. Like you said, it's called the Red Throne for a reason. On the one hand, it would be nice to be able to sleep a little more soundly at night, but I've spent my whole life getting very good at one specific thing, and I don't really think I'm good at anything else. I don't really know what I'd do with myself. I think I'd have to, frankly, go into the mercenary trade, which doesn't sound like a good life to me. I feel like I'm playing sort of toy soldier in this retinue sometimes. It's a good gig, and I don't want to take it for granted. And the war is what keeps me here.
If you weren't in the retinue, would you be on the front lines of the war?
That's the thing. Well, the war is still going on. She's going to keep me with her all the time. If the retinue disappeared, yeah, I'd probably just be yet another person on the field. I probably wouldn't be right at the front. I'd be telling other people to go to the front, but it still wouldn't be great.
The queen lights a fire in you. What is it? Ooh, man, these are great questions.
We are not playing this game correctly, I think. We all need to be in love.
Yeah, listen.
She loves you. That's the key.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I'm messed up over this already. It's been 5 minutes. It's going to be a difficult hour. I have been someone who has never really felt that I needed the company of other people, but I've become very jealous of the time that I get to spend with her out in the forest and fields and just the two of us out there. And I wish I could make a deeper connection with her. I feel like I see it in what I can see of her eyes sometimes. So they are often shrouded that she's enjoying our time together. And I am hungry for more.
You were summoned to a private meeting with the queen once. Why did you feel disappointed afterward?
Sorry, all questions are horny.
It's correct. She summoned me to a private meeting, and it was memorable to me because while we've met in private many times before, this was the only time she had ever expressed any sort of doubt about her own vision. It disappointed me because I believe wholeheartedly in her. I think that when she puts her mind to it, she is a force to be reckoned with and cannot be stopped. And yet, she is the one who is doubting her own ability.
Did you always know you were going to be the spy master?
They were just what my abilities led me to. I think it didn't hurt that when she arose to queendom, I was already I had people's ears. I had her ear as well. But now I've been by her side throughout her entire reign.
It sounds exhausting.
I've been having fun.
The queen had you punished once. What about the memory of that will stay with you forever? After mother died, and my sister took the throne, well, I was a little bit forward in some of the ideas that I wanted to push, and she pulled me back from that edge, from making some decisions that weren't quite in line with what she had in mind, and I got a slap on the wrist. We have paintings in the hall showing Queen's brothers with hands cut off for the same offense. I mean, this is, again, another sign of softness. I fear for our kingdom.
Are there other siblings in your family, or is it just the two of you?
Well, just the two of us now.
The other ones don't have paintings.
Or hands. Or bodies.
When did you know you were in love with the queen?
Great.
I mean, I'd like to say that I knew a long time. I mean, I've been through a lot. I'd like to think of myself as being a pretty realistic, pretty grounded person. But this one really got away from me. It wasn't really until we were already on the road for this trip. It's funny because you'd think it'd be during one of those, many, many times where she literally helps me get dressed and undressed. When I'm literally helping her getting dressed and undressed and doing this whole thing. And that seems like the obvious time that I'd recognize it, right? Like that's when it would be. That wasn't when it was. It was over dinner. And I was watching her talk to her fucking idiot brother. I don't even remember what it was about. And then he went up to go piss or something. And then she leaned over to me and she's like, I know. I know. But I really think he just loves this kingdom. And I'm like, I think he loves himself more than he loves this kingdom. And she laughed. And like, the thing is, I really shouldn't have made that joke, right? I mean, he's the queen's brother. I'm just some soldier. I shouldn't be making jokes like that. She can make whatever jokes that she wants. So one, she shouldn't let me get away with that at all. And then also her laugh is just very, very good. And of all the times, that's when I realized, like, oh no. This is a real bad situation that I found myself in, isn't it?
Tale as old as time.
Classic, you think I'm funny. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
The queen touched you once. What about the memory of that will stay with you forever? No, I love that. Right, the surface level question is also great, but then the follow up is where it really
romantic.
gets you. Yeah.
Yeah.
She transferred a hawk from her wrist to my own, but she passed it off to the wrong wrist. It was not the one that I had a guard on. So she clearly doesn't do this very often, and I think she may have been stressed from either the toll of the journey or decisions she was working on making in the background. I don't really know much about the big picture here, but it was the apologetic way that she took that wrist after she realized I had been mildly to moderately injured. Her thumb lingered on my pulse point, and I cannot get the memory of the moment then she realized she could feel my pulse, and I saw it in her face, and she jerked her hand away very quickly, but I am not going to forget that anytime soon.
You have a personal connection to the land you are currently traveling through. What makes you want to stay, and why don't you? I think I've only read about this land through books, and I've fallen in love with it there. In fact, when the queen and I were young, she would be the one who would daydream about going off. And in some ways she could. She had more access to the royal, what do you call them, horses? She had the ability to travel the lands in the way that I did not. And I've always held this place in my heart because of the romantic passages I read about the mountain faces and beautiful streams that have been running for hundreds of years. And there's something about it that just seems so pastoral and sweet. And I want to stay, but I can't because we have more land to conquer.
You are considered ugly by almost everyone you meet. How does the queen make you question that perception? Disfigurement is part of the family line. It marks us as royalty. And the queen wears a shroud to hide the fact that she is unblemished. But she doesn't allow me to go uncovered and show my face, to show my lineage. And she says that makes us closer, and it marks me as with her, and I appreciate that. It's something that she considers me her blood, and that's important.
You are considered beautiful by almost everyone you meet. Ouch, man. How does the queen make you question that perception? It's really interesting because as much as, again, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know what's going on with her. I know that she wants to sleep with me. I mean, come on. I've had a lot of people over the years who want to sleep with me, and I thought that I understood why. I mean, I'm a good-looking person.
Rippling soldier muscles.
Yeah, rippling soldier muscles. You know, I take care of myself. I have good genes, whatever. And I'm used to the reasons why people want to sleep with me, and it's because I'm hot and I'm built, right? I get it. Again, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. She does not care about those things at all. And if anything, the way in which she seems to want me, it's almost if she's telling me, I mean, you're not all that or anything, but I see something in you that other people don't see, which is a very strange feeling because on the one hand, like, having her sort of characterize me with her desire as somebody who most people wouldn't care about is a very strange thing for me. On the other hand, it does make me wonder if maybe there is something about me that other people don't get that she gets. And again, this is why I ended up in this situation. It's a damn intoxicating feeling to have from somebody.
Is the queen negging you?
Maybe. Maybe she is. I don't know, but it's working, and that's the worst part.
It's how to trap a jock.
Yeah. Look, I'm big and I'm dumb.
And it's so hot.
So hot.
Oh, man. What part of this journey will be the most difficult? How do you pull the rest of the retinue through it? Ooh, it's a great question. I'm going to pass. I'd like to hear you answer this question,
Okay.
Spy Master.
I think the part of the journey that will be the most difficult is the part where there's an assassination attempt on the queen. I think that I was alerted to this before we even left. There were whisperings in the castle that someone in the royal family was involved, and there's only one other member of the royal family at present. I pull the rest of the retinue through it by avoiding the area in which we are attacked, or we were set to be attacked, and confronting her brother.
Oh, you suspect this journey isn't about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you believe is going on and why? My sister is the queen. She holds her cards close to her vest. I haven't seen the market family violence, but that doesn't mean it's not there. This could be a ploy. She could be using this to draw them out, to make herself seem soft. And then she'll strike.
See, here's the thing. I want to pass on this one because I think that your answer will be more interesting than mine, and you will see why in a second.
You saved the queen's life once. How? Let me take a minute.
Because I've saved the queen's life like 30
Right,
times.
right.
Like, whatever.
This is just morning after breakfast.
That's
for
literally
you.
my job. Who cares?
Let me think. For all, the queen and this kingdom in general have a history of violence. For her in particular, it has mostly been indirect violence that she has ordered from on high, but not had to see the consequences of up close, except in such rare cases as failed assassinations, but who is counting? There is a moment when we are out together and the guards have scattered just a little too far afield when, let's just say a cougar because it's fun and she also seems like a cougar to me, but like choose with fantasy big cat of your favorite color, appears from behind us and she makes ready to run. But because I've spent time in the wilds my whole life, much more than I've spent around other people, I know the correct way to deal with them. So I look like a fool and make myself very large. It does not, in fact, attack us as it was planning to do. She looks at me a little bit differently after that, and I don't know how I feel about that quite.
When was the last time the queen hurt you?
Ugh. Lifelong friend, spy master.
Yeah. I'm open to suggestions on this one. I'm thinking of very obvious answers.
I mean, I feel like not listening to you.
Not listening to her advice, yeah. Like a emotional slight, maybe.
Or going over your head.
Right.
Oh, yeah, like a bigger mistrust
Right.
of...
Yeah.
Or putting herself in personal danger by not listening to
I think
you.
I wanted her to kill her brother.
Oh.
Which is all of these things. She is the queen. She can't go over my head because she's the queen. So I have to respect her decision. And this was the first time that she has lashed out at me for giving her information that I had collected. That was, it was true. She is still in denial. She did not see what exactly was to come to pass because I led her to safety. She insists on his loyalty. I think she's a fool.
Are you going to do anything about it?
She's my queen.
When was the last time the queen showed you real kindness? There have been moments where my machinations are not as covert as I'd like, and there was a moment when the knives were readied and things were in motion, and I was called to her chamber, kind of unexpectedly. I was expecting to be called by someone distraught, and she showed me in and put a hand on my shoulder and shook her head and looked at me with disappointment and said, "It didn't work again. Better luck next time."
Oh boy, man.
Who is this distant power you are traveling to, and why do they make you uneasy? I think there's only a couple of people who actually really know where we're going, and I think one of them is me, and I think the other one is the spy master. I think most people think this is just a standard diplomacy, go to the neighboring kingdom, chat them up, make sure they're not going to, come over the mountains and try to kill us all. Pretty straightforward. In actuality, our queen has been thinking very seriously about the legacy of her kingdom and how she feels about it in her own lifetime and how she feels about it going forward. The queen doesn't have any children. The queen doesn't seem to particularly want to. The queen's brother's kind of a shithead. And as much as she loves him, I think some part of her knows that. And I don't think that she is interested in the kingdom that he would lead. Because as much as she can be strange and distant and aloof, I do think that she genuinely loves our country very deeply. And I think that that's why she's thinking very seriously about an alliance with a neighboring kingdom that would essentially destroy our country as an individual thing in the world and make it part of a larger thing, which she seems to think would be good for everyone. She would stay on as a sort of, I don't know, shadow of her actual current power, sort of keeping the gears running until she dies. And I guess I understand where she's coming from. I don't know if I have her faith in our neighbors, I guess, and their actual intentions to take care of the rest of us. Easy for her to say, I guess. We've got to live in this world that she's making.
So did she confess this to you? Or have you uncovered some plan?
I think that she talked about it to you in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept waiting for her to tell me to leave the room.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not an idiot. I'm going to stay around if she lets me. And that was an interesting conversation.
You think of someone in this retinue as the queen's favorite. Who? What makes you think this? That's difficult to say. I've been talking with the soldiers while we wait for various people to cycle through and either carry game away. There's been less game lately, which is a little disconcerting as we draw closer to the borders of our kingdom, but that's really out of my control. But I've been spending more time talking with them. So I'm starting to get a picture of who spends more time with the queen. And there are a couple of clear front runners. It's interesting to think about the different ways you can look at a person who you are fond of. And there's a way I think she lights up the couple of times that the spy master has interrupted a hunting session. But I've also seen the way she just always is looking for a particular guard. So I'm not sure who she's the happiest to see, but I don't think that it's me, and that makes me deeply sad.
No!
Oh, no love for a falconer. What brings out the queen's kindness? I'm going to pass on this one.
I'm going to pass this on to you as well.
The queen is such a strange bird. She's such an odd person. Just when I think that I understand her, she'll do some insane, weird thing. And her favorite thing recently on this particular trip has been to just talk to children. Just random children that and she doesn't like children, so I was really not prepared when she sort of called some over when she saw them in some inn we were staying at this one night. But she's just decided that really what she wants to do is spoil the shit out of other people's kids. Just leave them absolutely ruined for their normal life afterward. One thing involved, I don't know where she even found that camel, but those kids had a really good afternoon. Whatever's been going on inside her head during all of this political shit that's been going on, the end result seems to be that she just really wants to make the immediate lives of some very small people better. And it's been a little weird, but she seems to be having a nice time. So, I mean, the rest of us have to clean up the mess of whatever disaster she thinks is a good idea, but it's been all right.
What brings out the queen's cruelty? I'd like to hear you answer this question.
Boy.
What's cruelty for royalty? The queen is cruel as a default. And this is because that is the way that she has been taught, and that is the way that our kingdom is run and has run effectively for many years. What other people call cruelty is the discipline that is necessary to run a kingdom. And it's hard to see her stay in that cruelty for too long because it's obviously taking a toll on her in a way that I didn't expect as a younger person, and in a way that disappoints me.
What did you bring with you to protect the queen? So, she's still my sister, and, plots can be foiled, and, plans can change with the wind. So, better again, hedging my bets, and yet another angle. I visited the armory before we left, and grabbed grandfather's sword. Old bloodletters let no one down in a long while. It made many, many queens in the past. Well, maybe it'll protect this one.
Or maybe it's going to unmake this one, depending on your mood that particular day.
Yeah, Bloodletter is a Bloodletter is a fickle fellow.
Gosh, you don't seem like a good swordsman.
Have you ever wielded a sword before?
I mean, it's part of the royal training. I'm more adept with daggers and small vials and droppers. But
Candy. It's fine.
This one's, what did you bring with you that endangers the queen? This is going to seem like a roundabout answer, but I think that what I brought with me that endangers the queen, weirdly, is myself and how much she clearly cares for me, because I think it makes her foolish. I am a soldier. I am the captain of her guard. I should not be in some of the confidences that I'm in. That's not my job. I'm not equipped for this. I'm not a politician. But she just seems to really have a soft spot for me for some reason. And I know that I would never betray her intentionally. But these are also very deep waters for me. I wasn't built for this, and I don't really know what I'm doing. And I don't really have anybody to confide in other than the spy master, who I don't think likes me very much.
Divided attentions aren't good for a soldier.
So I think that my own idiocy and lack of experience are probably the most dangerous thing for her in some ways, because I can protect her from a sword, but I can't really protect her from my own lack of sophistication when it comes to some of these things.
There is someone else in this retinue you love besides the queen. How and why are you keeping it a secret?
Let's make the Master of Hunt a more tragic character.
Great. Yeah, I know. It's like, hey,
Somebody love her.
queen, please. Oh, man. Okay, I need to take a minute to see if I do have a good answer, and if not, I will pass on. I mean, I won't expire. I will pass the card on.
I guess it
another
also
person.
doesn't technically have to be a player. It could be some random person.
Yeah.
Oh, that
It's just
feels like
juicier,
without
it's
the
one of
spirit of
us.
the, yeah. I keep forgetting that there's obviously
There's a
not just the
world.
four of us
Theoretically,
traveling.
yeah.
And you can always go to the table for
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Suggestions.
I don't know who else.
Well, if you loved the Spy Master, it would be tragic because you'd probably be largely invisible to her.
Right. Well, I think that's true of everybody else in terms of the spheres that we are moving in. So it has all got that edge of unrequited mess.
like loving the soldier could be it isn't unrequited. Like you're of the same station,
Right.
so you
Yeah.
Yeah,
act
that'd be
on
super
it.
appropriate,
Right.
actually.
What if
you-
you're secretly dating? But she's the queen.
Yeah. Right. So why aren't I holding out for someone better?
The brother's hideous, but royal hideous.
Right. If it's a power thing, then clearly there's another direction there. I think it's the spy master, and I think I am keeping it entirely secret because even I get a sense of the danger there, of the degree to which there are pieces moving that I not only don't fully understand, but cannot even see on the game board. My affection for her, for them, for her, grew up earlier than my deep and terrible crush on the queen came to be. I think the spy master, as someone who grew up in the castle but isn't of the royal family, would have maybe come to the hunting grounds, would maybe have been part of. Would you have ever taken part in a hunt, or are you more practical than that?
I think I probably I come from a royal family. I think that I have participated in hunts and
yeah.
have been trained in
Yeah.
some ways.
Plus
Okay.
You need to go to the rookery to send
Yeah,
letters. and
Clearly,
stuff,
right.
so
The
you need-
messenger
I'm up
birds
in
are
the
a whole other
rookery.
thing, right?
Yes.
So I think
It's
you've.
me, Liliana.
Oh no!
It's a
Kill
me.
me twice. Yeah, so I think we spent a little more time together while I was in training. She's clearly grown into a person that I'm a little bit frightened of. So I don't know if I can even admit it to myself, how deeply I admire her too.
All right, so you haven't like come to her and acted on anything or said anything about it.
I think I tried once. I think I got as far as knocking on her door or whatever public facing method of communication there is. And then I opened the door and the queen's brother was there instead of the spy master going through her desk. And he did not see me, but I saw him. I left and I have not returned to her quarters since.
His heel turned right out of there. That was good.
Well,
that was
not
good
a heel
call.
turn, but yes.
We're really painting you as such a character.
Like he,
You know, you've done a wonderful foundation.
The queen trusts you, but no one else in the royal court does. Why? It's because I've communicated all of their secrets, obviously.
they really shouldn't trust you, honestly.
They shouldn't trust me, and you know what? They should be afraid. I am not here to make friends. I'm here to keep my queen alive. Most of the royal court is very bad at hiding their business. And honestly, I think that if you fail at hiding your business more than once, that you should probably just be removed. But the queen does not agree.
And do you do the opposite for the queen, like make sure her business stays hidden?
I do. Unfortunately, there are times in which I cannot control how the queen handles her own business, but I do my best. With the royal court in particular, there have been times when I've taken matters into my own hands, but it's all to protect her. And she knows this.
Has the queen ever taken a lover you didn't agree with? And how would you have handled that?
The queen's taken many lovers. Most of them last a season. Some of them, if they are charming or above average in terms of intellect, sometimes they'll get information that they shouldn't have access to. Oftentimes when the queen stops seeing someone, she doesn't check up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about the captain?
I wouldn't say worried.
Oh no.
How does the queen remind you of her status while on the journey?
Oh, ouch.
So there's the royal carriage, and then there's my carriage. And for some reason, my carriage is behind the camp cook carriage and behind the soldier carriage. Why am I not allowed to even have my carriage ride near her carriage? Come on. It's petty. It's beneath her.
Can just imagine you in like the soldiers' quarters being like, "Hey guys, this is petty."
Tradesies?
So like she's simultaneously like, "Oh, you're my brother. I love you," but be back there.
Behind the cook.
I'd love you to be 2 carriages back.
I love you when you're safely.
Right. I love you better from a distance.
When did you know you would never forgive the queen, and why?
Ooh. You gotta go.
It's hard when you really care very deeply and respect somebody. It's hard to see them as people who exist outside your regard and maybe aren't always deserving of it. And our queen is exactly that kind of person who can sort of overwhelm you with how wonderful she is, such that you don't really see the ways in which she's maybe not quite that wonderful. And I don't know when I noticed her sort of casual manipulation of our master of hunt, but I did notice at one point. I don't know. I guess it's sort of ridiculous given all of the people she's killed and the kingdom she's crushed and the literal rivers of blood that have followed her throughout her life. But of all the things that really get under my skin, it's knowing perfectly well that she knows exactly what she's doing as she sort of slowly grinds the heart of this poor person under her heel. And that I know she's just doing it because she's bored on the road and doesn't have anything else to do, and it's easy. And the worst part is I still love her, and I still think that she's amazing. But I'm so disgusted and disappointed in this part of her, and I know that when the love fades, the thing that's going to really stick with me is watching the face of that master hunt as the queen walks away after whatever the fucking terrible thing that she just did.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Oh, Carrie.
But also, ow.
It's bad out here.
It's real bad. It's been a long road trip.
The queen is not your queen. Why do you serve her anyway?
Huh.
I was a fosterling from another court. There's a tradition of, I wasn't important enough to be a real hostage, but I hear the queen has been spending more time with children lately. She's not fond of them. Maybe that's because there used to be a practice of the kingdoms exchanging children kind of as good behavior.
Insurance?
Yeah, insurance. So I was part of a program to academic exchange, maybe, of young children swapped into this kingdom from a different one. But, even though I'm not from here, I was able to do this apprenticeship to learn the craft of hunting and to find a dignified trade and to take charge of a thing that I take pride in doing well. I think part of it is the magnetism of being in her presence. So she might not be my queen, but I've never known any other.
Yo, you're in deep. I'm
I got
sorry.
it bad.
I'm sorry, bud. The queen is responsible for the death of someone you loved. Who? What happened?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
I was married to the queen's other brother. As a family friend, we fell in love very young. He was the youngest and would never rise to even threaten her power. And in fact, it was during my marriage to him that the queen and I got even closer than we were. I loved him very much, and he was a fool. He kept secrets even from me, and that was when I also realized how foolish one can be when in love. He tried and failed, and this time the queen did not see upon him kindly. And I think that was right, as much as it pains me to say. And to see her now, only 10 years later, refuse to do the same thing, fills me with rage.
Were you already the spy master then?
Yeah, yes, which was why it was exceptionally embarrassing to have not known.
Do you feel like she holds that over you?
She'll never say his name, but whenever there's any doubt, it's the only time I've failed her.
And did you have to deliver this knowledge of his malfeasance to her? Were you the one who had to kind of call him out?
No.
Is that part of why it's embarrassing? Because you weren't even the one who told her?
Yeah, she told me, and he had already been killed. Go ahead.
Is there a grave? Is there any marker of his existence?
No, there's not. I have a ring. I don't wear it anymore, but it's with me. He's a fool. He was a fool.
They fired him out of the family trebuchet.
Yeah.
Traitors get craters, man.
Traders be craters.
Here we go. The queen is under attack. Do you defend her? So this is the last question, and we will all take turns answering it. I can start.
I think you're going to set the tone for the rest of
Yeah.
what
Sure.
follows.
So I'm a few carriages back, and it looks like we're slowing down to set up camp. I mean, it wasn't the ideal spot, but it seems that, I heard the whistle and I knew that they were coming. The ambush was upon us. It was at that moment that I realized this is my sister. She is here. She's taking action. I can at least look like I'm defending her. So I rushed up with Bloodletter, and I schnicker-schnacked a little bit, and they continued to rush out of the woods, and, well, I was knocked down to the ground and trampled a bit, and that's sort of when things went black.
So I said earlier that I'm not a politician, and I'm not, but I do understand how certain things work. And I understood that when those people came out of the woods, that they weren't from our country. And they weren't what I'd kind of expected, which was maybe somebody from our hoped for allies, maybe betraying us, which I'd kind of been half expecting. But some third party, some other kingdom I hadn't even been thinking about, who don't want the two neighbors to be helping each other out. And it's embarrassing that I hadn't been thinking about it. I've been so caught up in all of our drama and our own little retinue. So when they rushed out of the woods, I mean, of course I defended her. It's my whole job. It's my whole reason for being. But I don't know, probably a lot of this would be a lot easier if this were all kind of over. It was in that moment when I realized it's just going to be like this until I die. There's always going to be something. Some idiots rushing out of the woods trying to murder us. But yeah, of course I defended her.
I don't travel in a caravan. I'm usually on horseback with the scouting ahead party. I'm not a scout, but I travel in that general advance guard. And somehow this group of people got around us. And it wasn't until we heard shouts from the caravan that we realized that things had taken a turn. So I followed behind as the advance guard rushed back to join the captain. And it seemed like her brother had rushed to her defense, which I did not expect to see. But what I didn't expect even more is that the attackers were my people, were from the kingdom that I had left. And I knew this by their emblems and by their sigils, but they didn't know me. And so I did the only thing that I could do, which was rush to defend my queen.
When they came down on us, it was the middle of the night. I was on horseback, and I locked eyes with someone, an informant from the kingdom. He led me along a side road, and I watched. I did not defend her.
Wow.
So we don't have to say like what happened. We can let that lie and leave that to the listeners to determine. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
We interrupt our story here and we'll continue our next communique. I was one of your players, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho and on Instagram at board_ghost. Ali, where can people find you?
People can find me on the internet and Instagram and Twitter as at Ali Wilgus, ALIWILGUS. And you can find more info about my books and comics at AlisonWilgus.com.
When's your next book coming out, Allie?
My next book is coming out on September 10th. It is part 2 of a 2-part book about time travel and college students making bad choices.
Right, and this should be coming out right around that time, so we will
Ideal.
plug it accordingly.
It
Carrie,
is much less sad than this game.
Carrie, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on most social media at Carrie Draws. It's CAREYDRAWS, or at carriedraws.com. And you can find the books that I'm the co-adapter and artist on, the Adventure Zone graphic novel series, at theadventurezonecomic.com.
All right, and Christina, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at ochristinana and look at pictures of my dog.
Awesome.
He's very good.
Well, thank you all for being on. This was a lot of fun. To find out more about the engine and players in our story, go check out boardghost.com or the show notes. You can attempt to pierce the veil and contact us at BoardGhostWorld on Twitter. Shout out to the ether if you have desires we can fulfill. We'd like to thank Pat Couples for our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or on his band's website, hotelsandhighways.com. If you're not alone in the void, share our stories. The more they are consumed, the truer they become.
Dying don't agree with me, no. Oh,